Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I'm Kirk Henderson, joined as always by Josh Bowe. You guys haven't seen me in like 9 days just because I wasn't able to make the Mavericks Warriors game, but I'm joining you tonight following the complete waste of fucking time that was the Dallas Mavericks playing the Los Angeles Clippers, where they fell 118-95. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing okay. Are you mad about this game?
I'm mad that it's just say we're gonna fucking lose, and I'm not gonna be like apparently a significant amount of people who used to watch the NBA, and I just won't tune in. That's a waste of time. Like I'm so annoyed because not only did they lose, they also did the standard Mav shit where they're getting killed on very specific things, which they just then decide to lay down and die against instead of making any in-game adjustments to change how things go. I was very frustrated with that game. And that's well beyond Luka Doncic and Kyrie, the Mavericks opting to the Mavericks saying both of them are resting or not resting. The Mavericks are have Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic missed the game due to injuries is what happened there. So they lose the game to the Clippers at home. They lose it in embarrassing fashion. And I'm really fucking annoyed. I'm sorry. I am.
Is it embarrassing?
Yes.
Why is it embarrassing?
Point victory is a 23-point loss at home following one game in 9 days is embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
But they didn't have Luka or Kyrie. Like, that's the team. I don't know. Did you think this result was going to be anything different when they announced those two guys were going to be out?
So the Mavericks were up a significant part of the first half.
Yeah, they had a lead after the first quarter.
They had a lead after the first quarter. And then they just stopped playing smart. And their defense got progressively worse. They let let me back up here. Zubac is a lot of people don't really notice this because it's on television and they're like, how does Zubac kick the shit out of our centers? He is, and I mean this with respect, he is significantly bigger than both Dallas Mavericks centers that play minutes. Versus Derek Lively, he outweighs Lively by 60 pounds. I feel pretty confident about that. 40 to 60 pounds. He is stronger. He has a much lower center of gravity. He is crafty. He's a veteran. I was laughing today about the Lakers literally giving him away in 2019 because the Lakers are idiots. And then you have Gafford, who is 6'9" and 240, and he just makes Gafford look small. And so the Mavericks kept letting him roam. He is an unbelievable screen setter. So he would set a screen, roll to the basket, catch the ball, score, or make a nice dump off pass. Dallas did nothing different the entire game to deal with him. It was so annoying. And I understand that, like, you know, at a certain point there are learning experiences for the Mavericks centers, but like this guy has killed Dallas. He was a pregame point of emphasis if you're watching any of this stuff, and then he goes out and proceeds to whip their ass. And it was just I hated watching it. It felt like a waste of my time because Dallas they just didn't do anything different. I was very mad. I'm sorry.
What would I tell you if the listed weight of Daniel Gafford is 25 pounds more than the listed weight of Zubac?
I do not believe that.
I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean. Yeah, that was disappointing. Like, trying to couch this game because you're way more mad. The only thing I'm mad
because it got out of hand and they were just like, fine, fuck it, we're dead. And
I was like,
then let's just not even show up.
Yeah, I mean, I was mad in the sense that, like, it's just, you know, it does feel like a waste of time. Like, that's probably the only thing that I'm like, if I had to say I was mad. But like the actual game, it played out exactly how I thought it would because, I mean, Kyrie and Luka are that important.
Sure.
And also, sure. like I guess well, you're talking about Zubac, so let's talk about Zubac. And like, if you look at things about like this game going into it, like, okay, there's no Luka and there's no Kyrie. I can only get so mad about certain things because there's only so much the roster is capable of doing without those two on the floor in a game. And I guess one of the things that you would like to think that they can do is like, well, they still have Lively, they still have Gafford, and they still have PJ Washington.
Yep. And Klay Thompson.
And Klay Thompson, yeah. But I'm talking about those three in terms of like that's their defensive identity, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Two bigs that guard the rim, and PJ, who's been a first team all defense level player all year.
Yep.
So you think, okay, no Luka, no Kyrie, but you still have three of the cornerstones of your defensive transformation over the last 12 months or whatever it's been. Maybe this is like a competitive, maybe you still lose, but this is like a 102 to 98 kind of game.
Yes.
And it was going that direction for a little bit, and then that got out of hand. And I think the way Zubac kind of roasted both Lively and Gafford in the post was a little disappointing.
The fourth quarter was really where I started to lose my mind. When they were down by 10, 12 going in, and then keep going. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, I was just saying, like, that's the part of the game that I think I understand there being disappointment about it, because there's only so much they could control tonight without Luka and Kyrie. But with PJ, Lively, and Gafford playing and healthy, and they weren't in foul trouble.
Nope.
Gafford had 2 fouls in 14 minutes. Lively had 4 fouls in 28 minutes, and PJ wasn't in foul trouble.
Three of Lively's fouls happened in the fourth quarter, and look.
He just whooped him.
He just whooped him. He made Gafford look like a small child. There were times where he just moves Gafford out of the way. And I was watching the game with Matthew Phillips, our Mavs Moneyball contributor. And he was not frustrated with this game foul-wise, which is normally one of the things where he loses his mind. But we were talking in game about how effective Zubac is about all the hip down stuff where he bumps people off. And he's just really, really good at that. And Gafford he just nullifies Gafford's athleticism, right? Yeah. And that is just, it's painful to watch, where it's like, oh gosh. And then, okay, you're like, all right, fourth quarter, Lively's going to come in. He gets Lively with multiple and ones in the fourth quarter. And Lively, this was a game where Lively looked broadly speaking, this is not a criticism, this is just a statement of fact, he looked like a second-year center playing against Zubac. And when I get mad at it, it's just because I know how good he is. And to watch him, give up a hook, because it was the first one was a hook, the other was underneath the basket. And it's like, either give up the basket because you've been beat, or foul him so hard that he can't make the shot. You cannot give up 2 and 1s in a period. And then the third foul that he got in the fourth was a contested 3 where, who was it? Terrence Mann shot a truly bizarre 3-point shot where he torqued his hips and changed his landing space, and Lively kind of got screwed. So it's like, this was definitely another one of these learning experience games for Lively. But it just, I don't know. They got beat so bad, man. I can't.
The one that sticks out in my head in the fourth quarter, the and one that Lively gave up to Zubac, was the one where Zubac is posting him up, and they're kind of bumping, and Lively's pushing back as Zubac is posting up, and they're getting physical. And as Lively leans in, anticipating Zubac backing him in again, Zubac then kind of spun and hooked and got into his hook shot.
Yep.
As Lively was leaning the other direction, anticipating that Zubac was going to take one more post-up dribble. You remember that move? And then he kind of flipped around him and got an easy hook shot, and Lively fouled him while he was shooting it. And I was like, he got him. I was like, Zubac is not like an old man, but that was like a vet on youth move right there.
And here's the other thing that actually, you know what, we're gonna save the part that vexed me outwardly till the second half of the podcast. But okay, so long story short, the Mavericks held their ground for a significant portion of the game. I thought the defense on Jim Harden by the Mavericks in the first half was actually quite good. He still does so much. I am a Luka Doncic fan, and I just lose my mind at people who compare the two because Jim Harden pulls so much non-basketball bullshit.
Why are you calling him Jim?
His name's Jim Harden. James Harden is the MVP. Jim Harden is this 36-year-old washed up asshole who keeps grifting for another contract. Like, did you see the elbow he gave? He gave Omax. Yeah, see, there's multiple elbows. Does Luka Doncic ever fucking lead with an elbow with cheap shot shit? Like, ever? I mean, Jim Harden is a clown, and he's an embarrassment to basketball. And you know what? While we're blaming ratings issues, nobody wants to watch Jim Harden's bullshit. Fuck that guy. I'm so tired of him.
I know.
And they did PJ really sat on him in the first half, and I was
PJ did a
impressed.
great job on him in the first
very
half.
very impressed. Guys, you got to understand. I don't want to. I'm not going to act like this is a bit. It's not a bit. I do detest James Harden, but some of my comments are made in jest. So just lighten up, please. But it was just they did a good job, and then they ended the half down.
Yeah,
and
it felt like the offense just gave, like, the defense was as competitive as it could be, considering how they were getting nothing from the offense. Like, it's hard to play 48 minutes of high level defense against a team that has, like James Harden, who's like, say what you will about him, he's still a high level creator.
Yeah. And
you got Zubac, who's a good big, and Norman Powell, who's kind of low key having a really awesome scoring season. Like, the Clippers are winning. They're 16-12, and they were relatively healthy tonight. I think they were pretty much fully healthy. Like, this is a winning team in the Western Conference, and you're down two of your offensive engines. So I thought they held their, like you said, they held their ground. But like, to play 48 minutes of defense when your offense is just giving you nothing, and the Clippers are continuously getting transition opportunities or just open court opportunities where the ball's up, and it's hard to guard after a missed shot. And the Mavericks missed a lot of shots tonight. They were 34 of 86 from the floor. They were 39.5% from the field. That's a lot of rebounds for the Clippers to get up and run, even if it's not transition, secondary break. It's just easier to attack a defense that isn't set. And you look at how the Mavericks were basically not set for most of the game because their offense just gave them, absolutely nothing. The only good things you could say about the offense tonight, there's two things. Is one, I thought process-wise was like, okay. Like, I feel like they tried stuff on offense to get guys open and to do things. Like, they ran a bunch of dribble handoffs with Lively and Gafford. They let those two handle the ball a lot at the elbow to try to find cutters. They ran some nice staggered screen, double screen rolls for Klay. They ran some off-ball stuff for Klay. Like, they did stuff. Like, I actually feel like they were a little bit more creative with their offense tonight than they normally are. Probably because they understood how much of a disadvantage they were with their creation, but they just didn't have any. They just don't have enough playmakers. Like, Spencer Dinwiddie was your lead ball handler tonight for the majority of the game, and he's having a pretty decent season considering his expectations, but he's just not a 37-minute lead ball handler in 2024. So, like, you just kind of have to do it. And, like, he still had 7 assists and 1 turnover. Like, he gave them probably as much as you can expect. It's just not enough. And then the other thing, so they at least tried on offense in terms of their execution, in terms of their process. The results wasn't good. And then they got to the rim a bunch. Like, they put their head down and tried to get to the basket as much as they could. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. They were 9-19 in the restricted area. Like, that's such a no Luka, no Kyrie number if I've ever seen one. Like, they just didn't have the pop. They shot 17 mid-range jumpers tonight. Like, they just didn't have the juice on offense to get by guys. Like, you look at the guys that were available of their ball handlers.
Yeah.
It's Dinwiddie, Najee, kind of Grimes a little bit, Klay. Like, those aren't guys that are beating their man off the dribble. Like, those are all guys that are using the gravity of Luka and Kyrie to score in that space. When now you're asking those guys to create the space, not work within the space established by the stars, totally changes the court geometry. And I think that's evidenced by all the mid-rangers they took. Funny enough, they were 10-17. They made them, and that's the only reason why this game probably wasn't like a 30-point blowout at halftime, was they actually made some jumpers occasionally. But yeah, it was just all those missed shots, and then you're trying to play defense. It was just hard. But yeah, that's why like I'm not mad, but I also kind of sighed and was like, okay, it was just one of those games. Like,
so I want to address there's some interesting commentary going on in the chat, and sometimes I get yelled at by people that say I over-index our chat. But when the conversation is not insane, I think there's the occasional good discussion. And one gentleman in the chat pointed out that the Mavericks have basically the same record that they did at this point last year, which is actually factually true. They were 16-10 as of December 18th. Last year, they actually fell. They lost 2 more games and they fell to 16-12 by mid.
So yeah, 16-11 through 27 games last year. Mm-hmm. Now they're what, 17-10. So
right, 17-10,
up by one game.
But what happened to the Mavericks is basically from December until they made the trade for the new guys, they were 5 to 6 games over 500 until they made the trades. And then they make the trades, which were right before they'd won 3 games, and then they trade, and so they're 29-23. And then the first game that they won was the game where after the trades where they blew Oklahoma City off the floor, 100, and that's like mid-February. So the point, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think the goal for this Mavericks team has to be like they gotta, they start this season 16-9. All right, now they're 17-10. They were starting a place where I was actually quite pleased with where they started, considering the losses that they've had, and then just the last 2 losses that they've had have been bad.
Well, and then also another big part of it is they're somewhat close in record. They're one game up on last season, but the data around it is significantly different. Like, you cannot compare these 2 starts. The Mavericks have their net rating is 6.4. Their expected win total, according to Cleaning the Glass, as of right now, is 56 wins.
Yeah, pretty good.
Like that. Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna try to filibuster a little bit and look up where they were at this point last season. But their net rating was not great at this point last season. Let me see if I can find it.
No, it's fine. No, you go ahead and find it. We'll come back to that after the break. I'll do. Okay. I'll go on a break here real quick. All right, guys. So it's been a little while since we podcasted, and we still have our first official sponsor I want to talk about. Body Spec, as I've repeatedly mentioned over the show, is a company that provides what's known as a DEXA scan. It's a full body composition scan that helps you understand what's going on with your body, whether you're a person with a desk job like me, or you're training to be, a marathon athlete, or you're a person just really considering getting back in shape. A DEXA scan is a great way to learn about where you are with any element of your fitness journey. Down in the show notes, both in podcast and in video form, there's a Body Spec link, which I really want you to go click. Right now, we're still offering a special promo code. If you use the code PODMAVS45 at checkout, you'll get $15 off a single scan. With the holidays right around the corner, really, you got about 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. It's a great idea for a gift. And then with New Year's right around the corner, it's a good idea to go ahead and help you kick off whatever New Year's resolution you might have. Body Spec's competitors charge as much as $150 for something like this. You'll be getting real usable information for a really good price. Again, visit that bodyspec.com link in the show notes and use the code PODMAVS15, all caps, at checkout. Josh and I, probably after a win, we'll talk a little bit more about, what we've done when we've gotten this ourselves, though we did do that after the Oklahoma City loss, which was fun. Anyway, so we're going to insert some ads, and then we'll be right back, and Josh will tell us what he was able to find as far as the Mavs net rating. Thanks so much for hanging out. We will be right back. Okay.
Yeah. I found the numbers, and I had someone in my mentions bring this up. I'm pretty sure it looks like someone that would be trolling, and you see people talking about it. So yeah, they were 16-11 through 27 games last season. They're 17-10 now, so I get that there's a desire to compare and contrast and be like, oh, well, they're not that far off the pace. Last season, through 27 games, when they were 16-11, according to Cleaning the Glass, they had a net rating of 1.1, an expected wins over 82 games of about 44. They are at a net rating of 6.4, expected wins 56. It is not close. It is not comparable. They are off to a significantly better start. They just got bit in the ass by that 4-game losing streak where 3 of them were combined by 8 points. Their luck will turn around a little bit. You would hope. If it doesn't, then that's a shame. And I understand that's not to excuse like they can just throw games away. It's not. It's just they are not in the similar position as they were like this isn't like you're factually incorrect if you say that they are off to a similar start in terms of team performance as they were last season.
And they've played the second most road games in the NBA. And that it actually, I mean, the Mavericks will end up with 40 home games and 42 road games on the season. So, there's an element of this where, like our friend Proud Vet says, oh, there's an easy schedule. Well, I mean, quite candidly, the Mavs are among the top 6 teams in the NBA. Like most, so it's like, is it an easy schedule or are they better than everyone? So I'm going to go deal with this dog for a second. He's filibuster. Like he's looking at me. Let me see if I can just show you guys because this is just the great content that we have. He's sitting there. That's what he's just barking at me. He's like, "Why
wants you?"
I'm going to go talk to him for a second. You filibuster. I'm sorry. He is just he's 12 years old. Like what the hell's gotten into him? I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I know people kind of want to go out for blood, especially after a bad loss. But yeah, I do not see. I mean, if you watch these games, I mean, do y'all really think watching these first 27 games that this is a similar team to what we were watching last season through the first 27 games? Like, the numbers don't say it, and it's not even close. Like 6.4 net rating versus 1.1. That's the difference between a 500 team and a 55 plus win team. Like that's not close. And we've seen them with some impressive. We saw them win in Denver against Jokic without Luka. We saw them kick the crap out of Oklahoma City with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams healthy, also without Luka. We saw them just detonate the Warriors with Luka doing a 45-point triple-double. Like this is not. It's not the same team. So sure. I know I'm kind of expanding.
No, you're good.
Repeating myself, but yeah, like. That's just not that. That's not even a point where, like, my big thing. I'm trying not to dismiss fans' concerns because fans it's allowed to fan.
Yeah,
I get it.
Good. Yeah.
But like, it's not a debate. Like, you can't argue it. Like, I get that the records are close, but everything else is not close at all.
So okay. Well, and they have the option to. I really see, and someone asked me, it's like, why are you arguing with? So why did people care when you argue with the chat? And it's like, well, I want our fans to be heard. And it's like the argument of, oh, well, the Mavericks are the 5th seed right now. It's a good counter. I think where we're going with this is if you were to pull back and do the 50,000 foot view, which I'm frankly not very good at. That's why I came in here pissed off to begin with, is that over the course of the season, the way the Mavericks play, they will win more games than not playing this way.
If they keep playing the way they've been playing through these first 27 games, they
should be and because their process is better. Yeah. The roster's better. They're winning games more thoroughly. At one point in the year, guys, they had before they've had 2 bad losses in a row, but they had 8 losses by a combined 39 points. That's basically 2 baskets a game they were losing these games by. So there's, and things swing back and forth the whole way, but it's just, but now let's just kind of address something that really pissed me off. And I'm going to take Proud Vet's side in this one. Harp in the broadcast talked about how Luka and Kyrie should play Saturday. You can't do this stuff. if there's some what's the wrestling term, kayfabe?
Yeah.
If kayfabe is going on, meaning there's like everybody's agreeing to buy the bullshit, then everyone needs to be sold the bullshit. And I don't want to hear about how they're probably going to play on Saturday, because what you're telling me is that they sold this game, or that they thought that they would just Dark Souls it and decide to sit down. When I say they, I mean the Mavericks institution. One thing I'm not going to get done is have someone clip me and say I think that Luka or Kyrie didn't want to play. You have to tie Luka down and tell him he's not allowed to play basketball. That's how you get him to not play basketball. He will play, and he's basically the knight in what's the Monty Python skit where it's like it's just a flesh wound. Kyrie too. Kyrie's a fucking warrior. So I'm not interested in that part of the discussion. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the institutional decision to sit these two guys tonight, if you are frustrated by it, I will simply say I get it, because I was real pissed. Josh made the argument to me. He's like, look, if they're sitting them, they must have a real concern. They must. You have to be right.
They have to be.
But I still can't stand it.
I know.
Is the thing.
No, and if I'm wrong, that's bad. Because like I just can't. Like I'm seeing multiple people that were like they're healthy, they're just resting them. They've played one game in 9 days. What are you resting guys for? And that's why I just they have to be legitimately hurt. Luka didn't practice the last, like it's not like Luka practiced the last 2 days. We saw Luka's injury in the game. Now the fact that he finished, I mean, he got kicked and he limped up and down the court in the first quarter, but that's, I mean,
what? Okay, explain what happened, because I'm still going with the theory that he stepped on one of his daughter's Legos or something.
Hank clipped it. He got stepped on his heel. Like, like a guy, you played basketball. It's happened. Guy kicks you in the back of the leg or the heel, or he got stepped
disagree. I have never had any, like some of the injuries Luka and Kyrie get are I'm like, what? Kicking in the calf, like that. Go ahead. I'm just.
I know. No, I know. Well, I mean, he looked like he was in discomfort.
Okay, sure.
I'll just say that. Sure. And he didn't practice the last 2 days. And if the real answer to this is, yeah, these guys could have played, but we're gonna rest them because it's fine.
Like if they both race the Clippers on Saturday, I'm gonna be happy that they won, but annoyed.
Yeah,
all the same.
And I get that there's like some greater good aspect of this, because like let's be real, Luka is piling up lower body injuries like crazy, like calf, knee, groin, now his heel. Like you want these guys, you want him to be as healthy as you can. So obviously they're going to err on the side of caution. But again, they played one game in 9 days. Like people can tell me I'm wrong. I just refuse to believe this was a case of these guys can play and we're just going to rest them. Mm-hmm. Because you can only rest so much when you've only played one game in 9 days. So to me, they must not have been healthy enough to play. And maybe that's me buying the bullshit in a way, but logically, I just cannot comprehend another scenario than they were not physically able to play in this game tonight.
It's just, I'm simply going to say that
I understand your point too.
If you think the Mavericks should be a top 3 seed, then they need to win enough of these games to be a top 3 seed. And so like constantly hearing about what they could be, what they should be, what they maybe might strive to achieve one day is one thing. The other thing is actually getting there, and they're not there yet. Anyway, and that's a funny comment. Fan 123 says time for Mavs soft reporters to ask those questions. I mean, Kid is good at this, guys. Kid is a master manipulator. And if I'm trying to I'm just going to take his side for a second. I know I'm all over the map tonight. I think Kid firmly believes that the 82-game season is too long and that it is important that this team peak at the right time. Peak at the right time. When is the right time? Game 83 and on. That's when the right time is. That's hard to do. Old Mavericks fans will remember the 2006-2007 season after they lost to the Miami Heat. That Mavericks team started 0-4 and then went on a 52-4 run. They won 52 games. They had 3 win streaks of 13 games or more. Then they fell apart. And yes, they did get beat by a Warriors team that they probably would have beat just about anyone else, but they peaked too soon, and Avery Johnson had no other bullets in the chamber. So I think there's an argument to be made that Kidd wants this team to figure out who they are around game 60 and then start beating the shit out of people. Because honestly, he has the historical data at this point with the Mavericks to back that argument. 2021-22, the Mavericks figured out the 6.5-man lineup that they could run, and then they ran that from March 1st until they fell in the Western Conference Finals. They rode that the whole way. Last year, after they made the trade, they played significantly better basketball from February 10th till the end of the season. He has an argument to be made here.
But there's also the if you're talking about historical precedent, we haven't. There 2 teams in the history of the NBA have won a title outside of a top 3 seeding. Hasn't happened since 1995.
And so that's
how do you run away from that? I don't know.
You can't. You just can't. Like
that's like such an undeniable historical precedent that I understand what I don't even really disagree like with what you're saying, what Kidd thinks. But again, I also don't think that's what happened tonight. So I don't want to I feel stupid arguing about it because I don't think they threw this game away because I refuse to believe that Kyrie and Luka could have played this game because they've had the 5 nights off in the last week.
The organization made the choice. We will never know. What will happen is they will pants the Clippers on Saturday, come out with and just
if they play. What if Luka doesn't play? If this is a real injury, I'm just saying.
Then we need to have it. Then we need to start having a different talk.
I know the harp comment is. I think what
I hate that.
Did you notice how no one said
no one
was
said
just
anything?
quiet air?
There's a reason he's only on about a third of the games these days because that
so
man
funny.
says the quiet part loud a little too often.
That was so funny.
Kind of makes me look. Kind of makes
quiet
me love
air. Everyone's like, okay.
It's like you're not supposed to say this.
Yeah, that's kind of how it felt. But
I do want to address something else that somebody said in the comments because I'm not going to do a Mavs party or anything tonight. My son has had the flu. My baby has had the flu for 6 days. My house we're just dying. So after this, just because we're all tired. So after this, I'm going to go to bed. But I thought someone mentioned something in the comments earlier about how well Klay has played lately as a third option and how we've not kind of as a site, as a podcast, brought that up enough. And I think that's a fair comment. Klay couldn't hit the broadside of a barn from 3 tonight, but I thought he was an interesting operator off the dribble and it was fun to watch. Like Klay is vastly underappreciated because he's in certain elements of his game because he's such a good historical shooter.
Yeah, I thought he played about as good a game as he could have played tonight. He had some bad turnovers, but that's because they were just trying to do, he was trying to do something. He had a couple of good passes.
He's a really interesting passer though. Like the willingness.
He's a better passer than given credit for, I think, for sure. He had a nice lob to Lively. Had a couple another nice drop offs.
Oh, the lob to Lively was sick for the reverse oop.
Oh, that was from Najee. But,
that's from Najee.
That was from Najee. Yeah, that was a great play. It's a shame that play might get kind of lost because they lost this game by 23 points and might get memory hold. But yeah, Klay played. And the thing that was great about tonight was they ran stuff through Klay in a way that they don't normally do because they don't have to. But he was your best offensive player suiting up tonight, and they kind of acted like it. It was kind of nice to see them use Klay in that way and not sort of just keeping him pigeonholed in the role that he normally plays when Luka and Kyrie are on the floor. They were running him through a bunch of stuff, trying to get him going. He responded from 2. He was 2 of 9 from 3, but 9 of 17 overall. So he was good from 2. He got to the rim a couple times. I thought he played a great game for the most part.
I just thought that was fun to bring up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when I'm a shit like this and angry during the podcast, no one's going to listen anyways, except for our really loyal fans.
Only the sickos would probably listen to this one.
Well, it's something because it's like the complaints about the schedule I thought were actually quite fair when you really look at it, because it's like the Mavericks were zipping all over the country, and yeah, they're traveling in first class, everything, but it's hard to get into a rhythm, period. But it's like the fact that they haven't gotten to sleep in their own beds very often has been a little stinky, and you have this home stretch ahead, and you hope that the Mavericks can close out the year strong, because like I need to go back and look, but I posted something right before the Mavericks played the Denver game, and I had posted that I hoped the Mavericks would win like X amount of games before the rest of the year, and they've got to been on pace for this, because it's right, they've lost 2 games by double digits, but prior to those games, the Mavericks went forever in a day. Like they lost to the Heat in overtime. They went on a real nice stretch. And so there's an argument to be made that, all right, everybody that's mad needs to settle down. But that's not why we watch sports. We watch sports to enjoy the day-to-day. I felt good getting this out of my system, though I think I scared my dogs. As evidenced by the barking.
I'm sorry.
So, well, let's hear. What do we got ahead here? So the Mavericks play the Clippers again on Saturday, 7:30. Nice start time. Monday, 23rd, versus Portland. Is that the game that Greg Oden's showing up to? Did you see this today?
No.
Hold on. I got to pull this up because I made a.
Are they going to honor Greg Oden?
I think Greg Oden was going to talk to the Portland. Let's see here. Chris Haynes says former number 1 pick Greg Oden will visit Portland for the first time in over a decade on December 27th. Okay, so the Mavericks play again. Yeah, they play they play Portland on the 28th. So they play them again. So I misread this, but that was at Portland. So the Mavericks play these 4 straight home games, or is it 4? Yeah, Clippers, Portland, Minnesota, and then they head out on the road for Friday. So, we'll have that Saturday ESPN game. I'm sure you and I will record a podcast on Christmas Day. I will just go ahead and get this out of the way. We're not recording a podcast during the day after the game. We both would like to stay married. I think our wives and families would respectively stab us, which is fair. So be looking for that. All on the Saturday night game. If it's a better game, I'll host a secondary show. I'm sorry I haven't done one in a couple of days. Just kind of got out of the rhythm. You got anything else before we go?
No, I don't think so. I mean, honestly, we talked more about this game than I thought we were, because it was really enough. Like, I mean, this is one of those games where as soon as we heard that the injury news, it's like, all right, well,
I just want to see him adjust to Zubac just rolling down the paint, being like, give ball, will dunk.
I know.
Oh, well. Thanks so much for listening to us babble, everybody. This has been Kirk Anderson and Josh Bowe at Pod Maverick. Everyone have a great rest of your week. We will talk soon. Go Mavs.